Hey, Adam here. Quick thank you before we jump in. The feedback you guys have been sending, it's fabulous. Thank you very much. Like adding the names of people, asking the questions, or smoothing out the outro and intro. I hear you and I'm grateful. We're still dialing in the production side, but I decided to stop perfecting and just start. Paralysis by analysis is a real thing. And there are just too many conversations that need to be have, too much to share and too much to keep waiting for. So today's one of those unplanned episodes where I'm mid workout this morning, my phone chirps and it's my buddy Greg texting. And in fact, it basically said, dude, don't leave us hanging. Dive deeper into your thoughts on the simulation theory. So I figured stop my workout, come back, kind of get things situated and jump right in. So basically hustled home. Here I am, no notes, no prep, just me and the mic, hoping I can recall enough, just enough, and articulate it in a way that's useful for you, so you can maybe see our experience a little differently. So if this isn't for those in the audience, okay, I should also clarify that those questions that were coming in, I have a lot of stuff going on. So from my LinkedIn channel to my website, aehowland.com, to the books that I've published, to some of the strategic partnerships and advisory committees that I sit on. A lot of those questions have come in through various channels. So we're going to work on kind of clearing that up for everybody as you start to understand some of my content that we'll be putting out. Why all of a sudden, what is he jumping around with? Okay, so we'll clean that up. I apologize. But for today, I'm just going to pose the question, if this isn't a simulation, and then I want you guys to maybe write in, give me some comments onto maybe what you're thinking as to an answer to the question. But if this isn't a simulation, then explain to me why reality behaves like it only collapses into place when we're observing it. If you know anything about quantum physics, and like if you look at the split experiment, quantum physics says particles exist as waves of probability until we're observing it or they're observed. To me, that's not how a solid physical universe should work. That's how a rendering engine works. Rizvan Vork, who wrote a great book, published it last year on the simulation hypothesis, calls this a rendering on demand. Mystics call it Maya. I think in the law of one, it was illusion of separation. Either way, why does our reality act exactly like a game engine saving resources? Think about it. Comment below. Next, if this isn't a simulation, then explain to me why whole groups, millions of people, share the same false memories. This is called the Mandela Effect. Thousands, millions of people remembering logos, movie lines, events, a completely different way, but the same different way than what we're observing right now today. How can that be? In a physical universe, that's just bizarre. But in a simulation, it's pretty easy. For those coders, game developers out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the program patched the timeline, but some nodes, people, kept the cached versions. That's not a faulty memory in my mind. That's a version control. Drop some comments below. If this isn't a simulation, then explain to me why ghosts, angels, beings from beyond keep showing up in every culture across the planet back into millennia. Science waves it off as hallucinations, but across centuries and continents, the whole world, humans report the same archetypes: light beings, presences, ancestors, whatever you want to call them. In a simulation, this makes perfect sense. You're glimpsing, let me make sure I get this right, admin level processes or higher density players outside of the local render loop. If this is just base reality, how is that possible? All right. If this isn't a simulation, this one should really impact a lot of you, because I think everybody I've ever spoken to about this has had this effect. But explain to me why deja vu feels kind of like a system hiccup. You know, that flash of, "Oh, man, I've been here before. There's something familiar about this." The coincidence that line up too perfectly. The sense that time stuttered. I mean, we joke about it nowadays because of the zeitgeist the movie The Matrix has put on us, but maybe they're not jokes. Maybe they're code resyncing. Verk compares deja vu in the book to a server refresh. Why do those moments feel fundamentally different from normal experience if everything is random and physical? Drop some comments below. Furthermore, if this isn't a simulation, then explain to me why the universe looks super fine-tuned, almost engineered. Gravity, the speed of light, the weight of light, quantum constants, all locked in with unimaginable precision. Shift just one decimal and there are no stars, there's no atoms, there's no life, there's nothing. Science calls it, I don't want to say calls it, they actually just wave it off and dismiss it as some fine tuning problem. Religion likes to call it God. And there's always that fallback, God works in mysterious ways. But when we look at it through the lens of a simulation and we call it what it actually looks like, it is settings in the config file. Our cosmos behaves like it's running on optimized parameters, not like some accident. Really think about that for a second. If you're struggling, do a little digging, understand how game design works, and then project our species 100 years out. And we are so close right now today to having virtual reality games that can be almost undistinguishable from reality. Now, just fast forward 100 years and tell me we can't build a simulation to where the AI within it believes they're real, acts as if we can run the infinite universe problem and billions and trillions of planets all run in a simulation so that we can try to figure out how things may end up. If we're that close, don't tell me an advanced species from wherever can't do the same thing, hasn't done it, that this couldn't be a simulation. But just think about it. If this isn't a simulation, then explain to me why dreams can build whole realities while we're asleep that feel more real than when we're awake. I mean, our bodies respond as if it's actually happening. We can smell, we can feel, we can cry. We can do some other things, but I won't go there. But, our brains, would a brain in a purely physical world generate full-scale alternate realities for free every night. In a simulation, though, it makes complete sense. Think of it as side levels, test environments, background processes running scenarios while your avatar rests. Let's take it just a layer deeper. Maybe the dream is more reality, and the awake is the simulation. All right, finally, if this isn't a simulation, then explain to me why sometimes coincidences feel scripted. You know, you bump into just the exact right person at the right time. You f- you f- you're searching, you're at the bookstore, or even worse, Amazon. You got millions of books to choose from. You're not sure what you're looking for, but you got something, you're struggling. You want some things to answer a question, and boom, you find the right book that answers all the questions you've been asking. You stub your toe on a table getting out of bed and delays you 10 seconds, and you dodge that accident on the way to work. I mean, so many want to just call it chance, but it feels more like timing. In a simulation, that's code triggering events when certain conditions are met and storylines advancing. Much of what is in life, we sit there and have no explanation for, or you just sit there scratching your head, can be fully explained in a simulation. And I would argue, we've all felt these things that it doesn't seem like happenstance or just chance or God works in mysterious ways. It seems more like choreography. So I just want to pop in. That's today's kind of quick dive, raw, unplanned, but straight from the gut. And if any of it got you thinking, good, because that's the point. Because if we are in a simulation, every question we ask is part of the game itself. And if we're not in a simulation, then the questions are still worth asking, exploring together, and enjoying the journey. Thanks for riding along. Until next time, I'm Adam. This is NONFiltered. Please subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you.